All right, let's just dive straight in. Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're exploring an absolute game changer of an alternate timeline for one of the greatest sitcoms ever. You know the ending. Those six keys on the counter, the empty purple apartment, Monica and Chandler heading off to the Westchester suburbs with the twins. It was a neat, bittersweet bow on an incredible era. But what if we take that move one massive step further? What if they didn't just go to the suburbs, but went completely international?
So, what if one single plane ticket changed literally everything? Imagine the ripple effect if Chandler got a huge job offer overseas, maybe London, where their whole romance actually started, or somewhere totally out of left field like Tokyo or Paris. We're not talking about a normal promotion here. This is a decision that would permanently alter the whole dynamic of this friend group we know so well. It's not a wedding, not a breakup, just a terrifying one-way ticket away from the life they built. Which brings us to Section 1, the ultimate what if and the decision to leave. Now, this opportunity of a lifetime would obviously spark one of the hardest conversations they've ever had. Cue the sleepless nights, right? Look at the stark contrast here. On one side, you've got Monica's intense resistance. Her whole universe revolves around family, her routines, her people. She's the glue. Moving thousands of miles away means giving up hosting Thanksgiving. Honestly, the sheer panic of someone else cooking the turkey might literally keep her in the US. But flip it around and look at Chandler's side. The guy spent years stuck in a mind-numbing career doing whatever statistical analysis and data reconfiguration actually was. This international gig, it's his shot at real career confidence, a chance to completely reinvent himself and build an amazing, adventurous future for their family. But eventually, they decide to take the leap. That brings us to Section 2, reinventing Monica and Chandler and building a new identity. Once they move abroad, they aren't just Monica and Chandler from the coffee house anymore. Stripped of that cozy bubble, they have to forge totally new identities. And let's be real, Monica wouldn't just adapt to a new country, she would absolutely conquer it. She'd hit the ground running, rapidly mastering local customs and languages just to prove she could. I bet she'd have every grocery aisle memorized by day 3. She would channel all that intense need for control into becoming the single most organized, slightly intimidating person in their new neighborhood. She'd be running the local PTA from across the globe for sure. And then there's Chandler. Getting away from the familiar expectations of his 20s means he'd finally shed those lingering insecurities we saw for 10 seasons. He actually discovers genuine self-assurance and professional confidence. Now, his classic super sarcastic humor, that would absolutely still be there. Though you kind of have to wonder how his dry, mocking tone would translate to his new international coworkers. But jokes aside, that humor would finally be backed by a guy who knows exactly who he is, both as a dad and a professional. And we absolutely have to talk about the twins, Jack and Erica. Their upbringing would be a world away from the New York suburbs. They'd be soaking up new cultures, different languages, getting this really global perspective, a far less NY-centric childhood, right? But they wouldn't lose their roots. Monica would make sure of that, with her endless, vibrant stories. It's actually so sweet to picture these kids growing up an ocean away, listening to these almost mythological bedtime stories about Uncle Ross and his dinosaur obsession, Aunt Rachel conquering the fashion world, Aunt Phoebe's legendary street performances of Smelly Cat, and Uncle Joey's wild acting gigs. The gang would literally be childhood legends to them. Of course, every big move has a heavy cost for the people left behind. Moving on to Section 3, the void in New York and fading traditions. The physical absence of Monica's apartment is huge. That place was the beating heart of the group, the ultimate sanctuary. Without it, there's this massive, undeniable void back in the city. The fading norms are honestly a little heartbreaking to think about. No more daily coffees together on the orange couch at Central Perk. The spontaneous walk-ins across the hall? Gone entirely. Ross would feel the loss of his sister so deeply at family gatherings, suddenly realizing holidays require international flights instead of just a quick subway ride. And Rachel would lose those everyday, simple little moments that turned a naive roommate into her actual family. And then there's Joey. This brings us to Section 4, Joey's path to independence and losing the safety net. Out of everyone left in New York, Joey would struggle the absolute most, no question. Chandler wasn't just a friend, he was his best friend, his old roommate, and his ultimate emotional and financial safety net. Joey's evolution here happens in some pretty tough phases. First, there's this shock of losing that safety net. Those late-night foosball talks and free dinners across the hall just stop. This forces him to face some really difficult, raw independence. He has to build a life and a career without someone right next door to bail him out.
But, facing that terrifying independence is exactly what leads to real growth. Having his best buddy move away might actually be the exact push Joey needed to fully grow up and stand on his own 2 feet.
This massive shift brings us to the core question of this whole explainer. Section 5, the true meaning of home and the ultimate test.
So, would these core friendships actually survive the complicated schedules, the insane busyness of adult life, and huge time zone differences? Real life shows us something this tight-knit group didn't really have to face in their 20s. Relationships fundamentally change with distance. They'd have to shift from friendships of convenience, living right across the hall, grabbing coffee every single day, to friendships of choice. The strong bonds they built wouldn't just vanish, but they'd have to evolve. They'd become about intentional, scheduled video chats, really long emotional phone calls on birthdays, and rare but super special tear-filled reunions. Without the convenience of just being close by, every single conversation and every visit would just matter so much more.
Home isn't a city, it's the people who remain connected no matter how far apart life takes them. This alternate ending is a beautiful test of the show's entire premise. For 10 years, they showed us that family isn't just blood relatives, and friendship isn't just about where you live, it's about who consistently shows up when it matters. Moving abroad proves that growing up means finding new, deeply intentional ways to stay connected. Yeah, it's definitely bittersweet to picture them scattered across the globe, but ultimately, it's an incredibly hopeful evolution of their story.
Because sometimes the smallest choices really do create the biggest stories. Just one single plane ticket could rewrite their entire history. And it shows that while the group was never going to stay exactly the same as they were in their 20s, maybe that change was always inevitable. If you enjoyed unpacking this massive what-if timeline with me, definitely stick around and follow our explainers for more deep dives into how tiny decisions can completely rewrite the stories we love. As we wrap up today's explainer, I want to throw this back to you. What small choice completely changed your own story? Seriously, think about a seemingly minor decision from your past. Maybe a job application you almost didn't send in, a random coffee shop visit where you met someone special, or even a spontaneous plane ticket that ended up changing literally everything for you. Let that sink in. Thanks so much for exploring this with me today, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.